Gachagua should just forget about the presidency, or do you feel like now he'll use these
No.
avenues of open appeal to?
Yes.
A lot of people I've seen a lot of people say that Jimmy represents the same politics you're trying to run away from. So when you look at the two members who some of us feel are still with the people, there is Orengo and there is Sifuna. And then these are the two most vilified members of ODM. So when you see that, Iko Nini.
Iko Nini.
Episode 461, tukisema like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yes.
Yeah, na leo tuko na wakili WILLIS OTIENO. This is like the second time. Wakili, asante sana.
Thank you very much.
Yes. We decided to call you because there are a lot of stuff that we've been seeing online that we don't understand, like the implications or even the meaning. For example, I think one thing that came up last week was the impeachment of Gachagua. There are people who are saying that impeachment means you stay 10 years away from politics. Other people are saying it's forever. So which is which?
You know, the first thing is that once you're impeached, in fact, the Constitution provides that if you are removed from office in the manner prescribed in the Constitution, you are barred from ever holding any public office.
So that's forever?
And it's forever. The only saving grace that Gachagua has is that for as long as he has not exhausted the court process, and then an election comes, then he can contest.
Okay.
But if he exhausts the court process through the appeal process to the Supreme Court, and it is found that his impeachment was legal, he's done.
So where did this story of 10 years come from? Because I've heard it a few times. Everyone is like, no, it just means you stay away for 10 years, then you come back.
You know, I don't know how Kenyans come up with some ideas. Because I've also had it. Many people saying that if you're impeached for 10 years. You're barred from holding office for 10 years. That doesn't exist anywhere in our Constitution. Just like what I'm reading, Kenyans believe that people are elected to serve for 5 years.
Yeah.
When you ask them, fine, show me where in the Constitution somebody is elected to serve for 5 years. They're like, but that is what it's supposed to be. I'm like, no, not what it's supposed to be. Read your Constitution, read your law. And we need to be actively reading our laws to understand what it prescribes.
So, because that also, the court case, have you taken it to court? The fact that you want...
This question has been taken to the Supreme Court to interpret and direct on the application of the Constitution. Because we have a running urban myth that elections are meant to be held in 2027.
Yes.
You ask everybody to point to you which provision of the Constitution takes our elections 2027, and they don't tell you. They tell you that is what we always do. People are supposed to be elected to serve for 5 years. But then again, you remind them and ask them, Uhuru was elected in 2013.
Yes.
Sworn in on the 9th of April, 2013.
Yes.
His first elections were held
2017.
in 2017 on the 8th of August 2017. If you count from the date he was sworn in to the date of that election, the date when elections were called, he had only served for 4 years and 5 months.
Yes.
So he never served for 5 years in his first term. But then also in his second term, he was sworn in on the 26th of November.
Yes.
And the elections were called on the 9th of August 2022. If you count the term duration, he had served for 4 years, 8 months, and a few days.
Yes.
By the time the elections were called. So where is this urban myth that people are elected to serve for 5 years? I was some members of parliament who are serving in the 11th parliament. That is the parliament of 2013, 2017. And they are telling me we only served in office for 4 years and 3 months. Told them, yes, that is what the Constitution gave you.
Yes.
The ones who were in the last parliament, I think, served for 4 years and 10 months. So where do we get this Harvard myth that when somebody is elected, he's supposed to serve for 5 years? But it's a popular assumption that people start doing things that, okay, in their mind they conceive what is 5 years.
Yeah.
Then they say, okay, now we can hold elections. And the Kenyan people accept it. But all the answers are found in our constitution. The constitution prescribes when elections are supposed to be held.
Okay.
And the constitution tells you you're supposed to conduct your elections on the second Tuesday in August in every 5th year.
Yes.
So just a layman reading of that word alone tells you that you conduct elections in the 5th year.
Yes.
So that should lead you to conclude that you don't wait for 5 years to end. You look for the 5th year, then inside it.
Yeah.
Look for the second Tuesday in August. And you conduct your elections. And how do you calculate years? You look from the date when the event occurred to the eve of the corresponding date in the next year. So 9th of August 2022, first year ends on the 8th of August 2023, which is the eve of the corresponding date
Yes.
in the following year. But Kenyans largely ignore that. And legacy politicians take advantage of our ignorance. So they stand up and start telling you that it is 2027. And you accept it. You adopt it as the norm. You start assuming that is how things are supposed to be done.
I think the counter argument to that would be we had elections in 92, then 97, then 2002, 2007. So it should have been 2012, then 2017, then 2022, then 2027. Can you see where...
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
You see, that's why I say we must contextualize everything. In between 92 to 2007,
Yes.
we had an old constitution which had specifically provided in Section 9 that a president shall serve for a 5-year term.
Okay.
Section 9. It was specifically prescribed in your constitution. So those elections of 92, 97, 202, 207, and the term of office which the president served were in the constitution, specifically prescribed. But beyond 2010,
yes.
we actually literally dropped the word a president shall serve in office for 5 years. We dropped it.
Yes.
And we came up with Article 142, which says term of office is the subheading of that article. And it says the term of office of the president shall run from the date he is sworn in to the date when the person next elected president under Article 136(2)(a is sworn in.
Yes.
So we took away a prescribed time period. So we used office, the date of swearing in, to determine what a term is. And we said we'll be conducting our elections on the second Tuesday in August in every 5th year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what could have stopped Kenyans in their constitution from immediately saying, no, we are going to retain the provisions of Section 9 of the old constitution and superimpose them to be the provisions of Section 1, Article 142. We did away with that.
Yeah.
So we became, in essence, a system that only guarantees you 4 years. Then when you start your 5th year, we look for the second Tuesday in August.
Yes.
And we conduct elections.
So in this situation, we look at 2022 as the first year.
Yes.
2023 second year.
In fact, if you want to count it, count using dates because
Okay.
the Article 259 tells you how to calculate a year.
Yes.
So you count from 9th of August 2022
Yes.
to 8th of August 23.
Yes.
First year. 9th of August 23 to 8th of August 24. Second year.
Yes.
9th of August 24 to 8th of August 25. Third year.
Yes.
9th of August 25 to 8th of August 26. Fourth year.
Yes.
Then 9th of August 26 to 8th of August 27, that is the 5th year. So inside that 5th year period, look for the second Tuesday that falls in August. That becomes your elections date.
Okay.
Okay.
In this situation, it will be?
It will be the 11th of August,
Okay.
2026. That is a reading of your constitution. So unless we want to ignore the constitution and say we hold it in 2027, and remember, the 9th of August 27 to the 8th of August 28 is what we call the 6th year. So conducting the elections any day after the 9th of August, from the 9th of August 27, falls within the 6th year. So what you'll be doing, you'll be committing what in law we call an act of treason.
Yes.
You will be establishing a government outside the requirements of the law.
Period. Okay.
But now I think I saw Raila opposing that. And so, who do you think is going to back your bill? Because the so-called legacy politicians would not want that, because that means you are accountable basically every 4 years.
Yeah, in fact, this provision, this argument that this reading of the Constitution, it is something that I don't expect any political to support.
Yeah.
Because all of them are losing 1 year. What they had assumed they have conned the Kenyan people to give them without following the law. So you are now exposing the legacy politicians to a shortened period of term of office, which is 4 years. So they are going to do everything possible to try to undermine it and feed on the popular misconception
Yes.
of how to calculate our election cycle. They'll do everything. They will throw all manner of arguments, try to manipulate the entire conversation,
Yeah.
just to guarantee them their 5 years, which is illegal. But it is now onus upon the Kenyan people to demand fidelity to the Constitution. What does our Constitution say in terms of term of office?
Yes.
What does our Constitution say in terms of the election cycle? And that is what we should be insisting on as a people.
Okay. But then now another way to look at it would be, how independent is the judiciary to make decisions that are not political?
In the ideal, our Constitution presupposes that the Constitution will be independent. The judiciary will be independent.
Yes.
In fact, if you look at the oath of office that judges take, they are supposed to be independent and not to apply justice without any fear or favor.
Yes.
But of course, we've seen certain instances when some courts, not all of them, have made decisions which leave you with an eye that, hey, upper, any plain reading of the law, you couldn't have arrived at that decision. Like, for example, this issue of the elections date. There's nothing about, there's no special skill that a lawyer has that any Kenyan who can speak English or Kiswahili, or I've seen even the Constitution has been interpreted in certain languages,
Yes.
vernacular languages. Just read it, and you'd come to one conclusion, that elections, number one, nobody is guaranteed 5 years. Elections are held inside the 5th year. So if we all agree on that, then we just have to find which is the second Tuesday in August in the 5th year. But you'll hear lawyers who are going to come with so many arguments, explanations, interpretations, telling you about spirits, the purposive interpretation, the spirit of there's no spirit of the law. These are plain reading of the law, literal meaning, which even a class 2 who speaks English,
Yes.
when they read, they can tell you this is it. In fact, I was listening to some young man told me a very simple, interesting perspective, that when you go to high school, you are supposed to be in high school for 5 years.
Yes.
For 4 years. But your exams are held in the 5th year.
Yeah.
You sit for your exams in the 4th year. So before you're in high school for the entire 4 years, in between, before the lapse of the 4 years in high school, you do your exams.
Yes.
And you leave high school.
Because I entered in 2005, left in 2008.
2009.
But it's you say it's 4 years.
Yeah.
2005 to 2008.
It should be 3 years.
Those are 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's in the 4th year.
But it's in the 4th
In the
year.
4th year, you did your exams.
Yes.
And you left.
The same way you count the former primary, whatever, calendar, it's 7 years. But you're in school for. On the 8th year, that's when you sit.
You sit the exams.
Yeah.
So, and they told me, this is something we've practiced as young people. We've seen it. We do.
So you should revise all these dates.
Yes.
Because the reason I'm asking, because now, where is this case supposed to be had? In the Supreme Court?
So what the petitioners have done, they have used an advisory opinion which the Supreme Court had issued sometimes back in 2012,
Okay.
where the Supreme Court had said that there are certain instances where the Supreme Court can actually hear disputes, pre-election disputes that relate to presidential elections.
Okay.
So the stage where we are in now is the petitioner asking the Supreme Court that, guided by your advisory opinion, where you said you could hear certain pre-election disputes,
Yes.
if they touch on presidential elections, we are requesting that you admit this petition as one that qualifies, because it's a pre-election dispute affecting presidential elections. If you find that it meets the threshold, then hear it, just like you advised in your agenda 2/3 principle case. So that is where we are now. In fact, the opposition by Raila Odinga is largely on that question, that this matter should be heard by the High Court and not the Supreme Court. The other argument that he's making is that it is an established norm that people are entitled to 5 years.
Yes.
And yet, if you look at the authorities they filed in court, all of those authorities, the case law that they have relied on, were cases of MCAs who have gone to court to demand for 5 years term. Because it's only the MCA, by the way, who in Article 177(4) is given a 5-year term.
Okay.
So when the MCA goes to court to say, but you have called elections before I serve for 5 years, the courts have told all the MCAs who've gone to court that yes, we agree you're entitled to 5-year term, but the Constitution says your election must be held on the second Tuesday in August in the 5th year.
Yes.
So we cannot ignore that provision. So MCAs have been losing that 5-year term entitlement that they are given in Article 177(4), because the elections must be held in the 5th year, not at the end of the 5th year. So once we get to the substance of the petition, we'll want to see how they'll try to wiggle out of this plain, ordinary writing that I've said even a class 2
Yes.
can apply as long as you can speak English or Kiswahili or you have vernacular language if the Constitution is written in that language.
And the new IBC commissioners, the list, what do you feel about it?
You know, I'm one person who is least concerned about the IEBC commissioners
Yes.
in regard to the next elections. Because I sit on the premise
Yes.
that the next elections will be a people-driven election. The Kenyan people will take control of their sovereignty.
Yes.
And even if William Ruto appointed his own brother to become the chairman of IEBC, they will not be able to surmount the energy of the people. Because our polling takes place at the polling stations.
Yeah.
At the polling station, you have the election officials, you have the agents, you have the voters, the residents in that little village who congregate around there. And now we have these new things called phones, these smartphones,
Yes.
across every country, every county.
Yeah.
People are going to document, they're going to record, and they're going to share all those results. Do you know, by polling in Kenya closes at 5 p.m. Every polling station in Kenya, at maximum, has 600 registered voters.
Yes.
Some have even less.
700, I think.
This is only 600
Yeah. Okay.
at maximum. Some have less. So even if you are to say that polling has closed at 5, you take 1 hour to rearrange the polling station. You take that, so which means that by 6 p.m. you finish rearranging the polling room.
Yes.
By 6 p.m., 6:01, you start counting.
Yeah.
And normally the first count is the presidential count.
Yes, the first one, yes.
So you're only counting 1 to 600.
Yeah.
It will take you less than 1 hour, but you have 1 hour. So assume
Yes.
1 hour. So by 7, you finished the count for presidential. Then out of abundance of caution, I say, I'll give you an extra 2 hours. Just to deal with any delay, anything. By 9 p.m., across the entire country,
Yes, we should know.
the presidential vote, as nobody is touching the presidential ballot box.
Yes.
It is sorted, which means the results are here in everybody's phones. What remains is just the aggregation
Yes.
of those results. But now with crowdsourcing and smart technology, this information will be there. So by the time someone will be coming to Bomas to do their nonsense,
For tea.
it takes 7 days to come to Bomas.
Yes.
The Kenyan people will have known who their president-elect is. And they will also be clear that William Ruto is gone. There's nothing they can do. They cannot manipulate. You cannot play the same game over and over.
Yes.
Kenyans are now more enlightened. enlightened. They are now more aware. And they are now more engaged in their politics and their governance. That is why you saw, this June 25th, some people think it's something that was just a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. That was a statement of intent by the Kenyan people. In the history of Kenya, that parliament has never been banned.
Yes.
Even in the worst of multi-party times. Even during the colonial period when they were fighting for
Freedom.
they never banned that parliament. And they never mobilized the kind of numbers that we witnessed on the June 25th.
Yes.
So it should tell you that there's a reawakening. There is an energy that the Kenyan people now have, that they are now taking control of their destiny.
Yes.
And that is going to come out on election day. So I'm not worried much about IEBC commissioners, who is going to be what. The moment the Kipenga itapigwa and Mwananchi goes to their polling stations, the president, number one, becomes an temporary incumbent. No one will listen to his orders. People will just be moving with the flow of the energy of where the people are. Everybody will want to align with the people.
Yes.
I'm sure even him, where he sits. Do you think on the 25th of June he slept soundly?
No, he did.
No. He
couldn't
panicked.
sleep
Like sources close to him, tell us that that's the first time they saw him shaken.
Yeah.
Or even asking for any advice, because he's the one who advises.
Normal
advises.
If you are human, everybody is mortal.
Yes.
Nobody will see that thing happening and you keep quiet. And Parliament is barely 3 kilometers from State House. If that mob decided to turn and
Detour.
to State House, I saw there's this mob. And I was in town that day.
Yeah.
There's a time when I saw the mob that was coming down. And remember, that had been blocked from way up Valley Road. When I saw that mob coming down and the way they pushed the policemen, right from those sides of NPC, Pentecostal Church, Valley Road, they pushed them all the way into town and they entered town. And the mob and more officers kept being brought, and the surging mob will push them. If that surging mob had just taken a detour at Serena on processional way to State House, it would have been...
and those are just Nairobi residents.
Only and few. That's just one section.
Yes. Yeah.
That was just one section.
Yes.
Because you've not factored in the ones coming from Jogo Road, the ones coming from Thika Road, the ones that will have been coming from Mombasa Road. So even him, he knows that if the people in that kind of resolve decide that they want to determine their future, independent of him, in an election, you can't control it. Even the policemen that you deploy, they'll tell you there's nothing we can do.
But I don't think he ever learned from that gesture, because I think that was a time for him to, turn to the people. Now he's just turned to both houses and he bought them.
You know what happens is,
Yes.
may I look at it that is why he impeached Gachagua, to try to deflect attention. And partly that is why he did his broad-based with Raila.
Yes.
To try to now tap into Raila's energy and his support base. At least to try to stabilize his sinking ship.
Yeah.
But even that has not worked. I don't think you've seen an overwhelming public support to the broad-based government. If anything, there are more stones every day.
Yes.
And Raila has to constantly keep saying, I'm not in government, I only send experts. Because he's trying to remain relevant also to his traditional base. He can't be seen to be part of this oppressive regime. But it is going to be a long night for legacy politicians when elections are called next year.
Yeah.
It will be the night of the long knives.
And talking about calling, we usually see, is it Wolf Blitzer of CNN? Because for us, our returning officer, in matters regarding US elections, is basically it's basically CNN.
Situation room.
It's situation room. We have a major projection.
Yes.
So is there any type of law barring our media houses from calling any election?
There is no law that bars them. What normally happens, is that IEBC uses the advertising budget to control the media.
Strong arm them.
Strong arm them. So they tell you that, no, what you do, we need to control the flow of information. So we have set up this very comprehensive national tallying center. So just come and loop in.
Yes.
And we'll give you feeds. That is what you relay. So because media wants to also, remember that time, you'll find IEBC maybe probably has a budget of 30 billion. Media budget maybe is 5 billion, 10 billion. You know that this is maybe an open season. You don't want to go contrary to the invitation by IEBC.
Yes.
To run your own parallel process. So that is why IEBC media, they buy the IEBC invitation to loop into their feeds, as opposed to running their own parallel tallying. Because if we were, as I've told you, by 9 p.m. in the whole country,
You should know, yes.
the results of president is out. What remains is aggregation of the same. And media has a presence across the entire country.
Yes.
You will not tell me that there is an area in this country during election night that the media don't have access to. They have access to every polling station. They have access to all constituency tallying centers. What we should be doing is we should witness media sending their reporters to every constituency tallying center.
Yes.
Every constituency. That is the spirit of the minor. Actually, that is the requirement of the minor KI case. You go to every constituency, you conduct presidential elections. And the returning officer for presidential elections is the constituency returning officer. So media should be in every constituency and they observe how every polling station, because from the polling station you have the agent, the PO,
Yeah.
you have the agents, you have the clerks, you have the security, and even public spirited citizens who have escorted the boxes. So the PO comes, hands over the ballot box and the forms in the presence of the agents. And then the RO writes on the form 34B. We have received from Serikwa Primary School, this is their form 34A. They have handed over. This is their box. Then he writes down on his form 34B. And the agents are confirming, yes, what we've given you is what you've written down. Then they move aside. When he does that, up to the point when the last polling station in the constituency comes, the RO should be able to stand and say, we finished our tallying, and you do the tallying open in front of everybody. These are the results. Jimmy Wanjigi, this much. Raila Odinga, this much. William Ruto, this much. Kalonzo Musyoka, this much. Everybody is watching the media. You write down, okay, this was Kapseret polling constituency. These are the returns for everybody. Then the next time we have now Githunguri, same thing. They are ready. Githunguri is ready. Then we have Mvita. You go constituency by constituency, and everybody in their home with a piece of pen and a paper is writing. When the threshold is reached, the media should be able to say, and even me at my home, I should be able to say, based on what we've observed from the tallying process and the announcements, the projected winner of these elections is Jimmy Wanjigi. Then you can do breaking news.
You have a major projection.
We have a major projection to make. Because on election night in the US, early morning, they have...
Yeah, they've moved.
They normally do projections even when some polling stations are still voting.
Yes.
Do you know when the election management body in America sits to ratify the results, to make the formal declaration?
Is this some few weeks later?
They meet in December.
Yes.
Yes.
That's when they meet to formally now do what Chebukati does to us in Bomas. By that time, the president-elect has given his acceptance speech. The loser has conceded. The Secret Service has moved in to provide protection.
Yes.
The transition process has started. By the time the commission is sitting to ratify, what everybody knows. But in Kenya, Chebukati calls you to Bomas like if he's a magician. Nobody is seeing how the numbers are arrived at.
Yeah.
No one is observing how the numbers were processed. And Kenyans, by the way, you people are very funny. You actually allow someone to take you through that charade, and then you accept the outcome. Who is he? Is he a demigod? He knows better than all of us. Why can't they transmit and relay to us on media every process at every constituency? There are only 290 constituencies.
Yes.
And at the constituency, if you're disputing, you're able to see the box is there. This is the box for this polling station. We are disputing it. But you come to dispute things at Bomas where not even a single ballot box, not a single ballot paper finds its way to Bomas. So even if you're disputing, what are you disputing? Alphanumerics. There's no supporting documents to even help you dispute. That even if you are to resolve the dispute, what will you do? And you have a Supreme Court that sits and entertains disputes without access to the elections materials. In our own laws, it is said that when a dispute challenges the results of an election, the entire elections infrastructure should be handed over to the court.
Yes.
The entire. But here, Supreme Court still gives an order that allow us access to the server. Allow us as who? Your laws tells you
Yes, you
that
have
entire
access.
infrastructure should be with you.
Yes.
You are the one who should be saying we are allowing parties access to the servers in our presence. Not that IEBC to give us access to the servers. Supreme Court is still begging IEBC that, bring all these specific ballot papers, ballot boxes. Then IEBC comes to court and tells you, by the way, because of logistic and administrative challenges, we cannot mop up these ballot boxes that you want. It should have been foreseen the moment elections have been concluded and there's a dispute. The responsibility of IEBC should be to appear before the nearest court station and hand over to the courts the entire infrastructure that was used for that election. So that at any point when the Supreme Court wants to look into something, they are not asking IEBC. Because IEBC is even a party. It is IEBC that is being questioned, challenged. You can't be asking somebody who has been sued to be the one to give you evidence.
Yes.
The evidence by law is handed over to you. You're the one who should be saying, okay, you are saying this one, okay, judge so-and-so or the deputy registrar so-and-so, go and open that one. Or you're saying that this is in the servers, okay, registrar so-and-so, we've put a team of experts here, go and allow them to access the servers in your presence to see what they're, to help them prosecute what they're saying. Doesn't happen, yeah?
Because even when you talk about this, there are 290 constituencies. And because what I've been saying that the next elections, according to me, and from the patterns that I've been looking at, will be called in quotes by Cyprian Nyakundi. I feel like he has the network. People give him all the information. So I feel like he's going to do that. And when I look at the big media stations, and I think of 290 polling stations, if they were to look for how many, like we have, is it 3 major stations, Citizen, NTV, KTN? If they were to look for reporters, 100 reporters, where the reporters for NTV handle these 100 polling stations. Constituencies.
Yes.
These 100 constituencies, these 100 constituencies. Now you see, even calling the results will be super fast.
Very fast.
But I don't know why they feel like everyone needs to be independent. Like we have a KTN reporter at this polling station and a Citizen one at the same place. You can just share
Like the
information.
same way they did, was it 24 hours for Kenya? When we were all fighting hunger.
Yeah.
In fact, if the media were serious, they came up with these presidential debates. It's a media,
Yes.
a joint media council
Yes.
on the presidential debates. That body that brings together all the players is the body that they should convert, in my view, into the presidential elections monitoring unit.
Yeah.
So they apply joint efforts and say, we are going to relate to you results per constituency as they are being tallied. As they are being tallied. So as the polling presiding officer walks into the tallying center, you these agents and security, you have media there showing this is what they've done.
Numbers are coming in.
Numbers
Yes.
are coming in, and we all say this is going to be our tallying center. And if it's a question of advertising revenue, they'll make more money
Yes.
if they did this, as opposed to the little coins that IEBC gives them to buy nonsense.
They can advertise coffee.
Yeah.
They can
Like, stay up.
so much. I'm telling you, that platform will control elections.
Yes.
That is where everybody will be.
Yeah, makes sense.
They'll make more money. So, and they'll be performing a patriotic duty, not doing being co-conspirators in the IEBC shenanigans to rob Kenyans of their sovereignty. That's what happens. That is why our elections turn out to be very catastrophic,
And very expensive.
expensive, and people are losing lives.
Yeah, because
If they went this route,
Yes.
you will have our president at least at maximum from the election date, maximum 2 days.
Yes.
We will all know the projected winner of the elections.
Not even 2 days. I always say that. You remember when you were talking about 1 hour? I always say that by 12 a.m. we should know.
No.
Yes.
That
Like
is
if you look at
if
it-
they're able to deploy in all the 46,000 polling stations,
Yes.
we can get it by 9 p.m.
Yes.
using their platform. But give or take, because you have to count the presidential, the same PO has to count presidential, gubernatorial, member of parliament, MCA. That count normally goes up to the next day early morning.
Yes.
In fact, normally by 7, 8, unless there was by 7 o'clock in the morning,
Yes.
the entire count is sorted. Then now they start going to the to the constituent tallying centers, which, if you look at distances, say for North Hor, most constituents within their polling station to the tallying center, within an hour you'll have covered it.
Yes.
Or less than an hour. So that's why I've said, out of abundance of caution, I'll say by day 2, evening, the arrows have not just the forms, but the ballot boxes with them. That if they are making an announcement and the media is making a projection, there is supporting evidence in that polling in that constituency.
Yeah.
Ndio vile mwafu nasema like the media, if they came together in now trying to form a parallel counting system, unajua daya mwizi ni mwangaza.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Yeah. Torch. Mulika mwizi.
Jo kishamulikwa, huwezi sema
Not
I
you.
won, and the whole of Kenya sees you had 24,000 votes. So this would be very hard to rig.
Yeah, because another thing that I was thinking, I think you said it in a different way. You're saying that this next election will have over 1 million observers because of the smartphones.
Yes.
And it's the same thing I was saying. I feel like right now Kenya is so ripe for change that a lot of Kenyans will be ready to volunteer to be agents at the polling stations. And if not that, I am sure there's a lot of Kenyans who would volunteer as reporters.
Yes.
Just there,
Yes.
because it's a very simple report. It's just there, take a picture of the results and transmit
Upload.
them
Yeah.
and upload them. You see,
yeah.
so that's also possible. That's why I feel like even with all this, because with 2 days they get a chance to play around with numbers. They can,
They
get
can-
Sudi
So if
to
we
do
focus
some-
on the polling stations,
Yes.
we can get all the information by midnight.
Yes.
Every information from all polling. In fact, by 9 o'clock, all polling stations will have given you the results.
Yeah. But at least one thing that I know is this time the turnout is going to be crazy. It's going to. So now in such a situation, what happens? Because if normally we have 45,000 polling stations, if we project that the turnout might be at least 150% of what happened last time, so are we supposed to have more polling stations and push it to 60,000, or what's supposed to happen?
Yeah, if first things first, we are going to witness a surge in the registration of voters. More people are going to register.
Yes.
Most of our young people who had not registered before are registering. In fact, they had been registering. I don't know if IEBC is still doing the continuous voter registration.
Yes.
So the numbers are going to go up. So definitely, even the polling stations are going to increase. So from 46,000, now the numbers may get to almost 60,000 polling stations.
Yes.
Depending on the additional numbers who will join the register. And that will tell you the mood of the people.
Yeah.
When you see a surge in registration, it tells you that there is an appetite to participate in the electoral process.
Yeah. And it's literally driven by hate.
No.
By hate for the president. Like people are so angry.
Driven by a quest to liberate the country economically.
Yeah.
This is an economic liberation we're having here.
Yeah.
This is an economic war. Kenyans feel secured in their political rights. Where they are still under chains is on their economy. Because they feel like the government is not working for them. It's not making sense to them in terms of their economic status. So this is an economic war. William Ruto is just but today the face of the oppressor. But what guarantee do we have that just removing William Ruto will solve the problem? It's not.
Yeah, yes.
So you are going to see Kenyans demanding more even of legacy politicians or anybody else who wants to aspire to leadership. They are going to test all our ideas. They will question. And if you are telling them nonsense, they will dismiss you quickly and look for somebody who has concrete solutions to the economic promise.
Okay.
And this time they are going to be ruthless.
Yeah. So uko US na unatrai kutuma do Kenya, baki umetumia LemFi. Na reason ya kutumia LemFi ni LemFi inakupatia the highest exchange rates. Alafu apart from that, juu ya LemFi unaweza baki umetuma $8,000 in one day. Ama unaweza tuma $16,000 in one week. Ama unaweza tuma $32,000 in one month. Hiyo ni up to 4 million shillings in one month. Na ni simple kabisa. LemFi app unaweza baki umepata kwa App Store na pia unaweza ipata kwa Google Play. Na another reason ya kusign up kwa LemFi ni wewe ni Iko Nini fan. Na umekuwa ukishindwa nizaje support Iko Nini. Naweza support aje asi. Kuna vile saizi jo mfuko ni mbaya. Lakini need kutumia mother dose, so siwezi tumia Iko Nini chochote. Kuna a very easy way ili unaweza kill two birds with one stone. Support your family na pia support Iko Nini. Na unafanyaje hivyo? Unabaki umesign up to LemFi using our QR code. Baki umescan QR code. Kama si hivyo, ubaki umetumia the link ile tumeseti kwa description. Na usisahau the first $100 ile utatuma, wewe mwenyewe utapata $20 cashback. Alafu sisi juu tumekurefer, pia sisi tutapata $20. Unacheki, utakuwa umesupport Iko Nene, ndio tuendelee kukupatia the conversations that you like. Na pia kitu inabamba kabisa ni saizi kuna vile LemFi ina support both M-Pesa paybill numbers na till numbers. Inamaanisha unabaki umelipia madhako internet ukiwa majuu. Unaweza mlipia stima bado ukiwa majuu. Unaweza make sure that madhako iko both connected na pia keja yake iko lit up. Na hiyo ni courtesy of LemFi. LemFi, international payments for everyone. Iko Nene. So I always say that William Ruto is trying to play chess when it comes to the 2027 elections. So there was this news that broke last week. It was Kenyans might soon need the national ID and proof of maturity to access social media. And then it continued. It was like this requirement would apply to widely used platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, amongst others. Beyond individual users, the bill also targets digital content creators, influencers, and bloggers. It proposes mandatory registration with the Communications Authority of Kenya for anyone who publishes content intended for public consumption. So I remember when I saw this is the first part that I stopped at. I was like, anyone who publishes on any social media publishes for public consumption.
Yes.
Because it's a public...
The public platform.
Yes. So what do you think about this first part?
You know, that bill by itself, just reading that tells you that it's anti our constitution. It doesn't take into account what our constitution says and even fails to understand the concept of social media.
Yeah.
The concept of social media, it is not a regulated media like you can talk of the traditional media.
Yes.
Social media is just a tool that is in the hands of a community to interact with each other. It's a tool of engagement. Just like we can decide to be meeting under a tree in our home every day to have a conversation.
Yes.
Now, this is just now we're having the same conversation, but using technology.
Yeah.
But also expanded audience. We can now, instead of meeting 10 people, we can even meet 1,000 people. It doesn't make social media to be your traditional media that you can regulate the way government wants to regulate. The government does not own any frequencies on social media.
Yeah.
They don't belong to the public. So that bill, in my view, offends the provisions of Article 33 and 34, which is very prescriptive. It actually it's prohibitive. It prohibits what government cannot do. Government cannot determine the content or control the content of any broadcast media.
Yes.
So if the Constitution has prescribed, and there are very few clauses of the Constitution that prescribes.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, the Constitution is prescriptive, tells you what you need to do. But in terms of media, the Constitution prescribed what you cannot do. It gave you a negative connotation of what you cannot do. So there's even no way you can legislate post a prescription. You are prohibited from doing this. So even in proposing a law, you are prohibited from proposing that law. That law becomes unconstitutional ipso facto. But these are the usual tactics of a failing regime. It's the same playbook of dictators that are failing, collapsing.
Yeah.
Abductions, killings, repressive laws that are meant to prohibit transparency.
Yes.
They are clamping down on freedom of speech and expression.
Yes.
But the outcome in all of them is failure, and the regime will leave.
So you don't think that this will go through, because there was this, according to the draft, those who fail to comply could face legal consequences,
No.
while service providers risk losing their licenses if they do not enforce the identity verification measures. Promoters of the bill argue that mandatory user identification will promote responsible use of digital platforms, reduce the spread of harmful content, and help law enforcement trace individuals involved in cybercrime, defamation, hate speech, and incitement. This is the part that I was saying, that literally they're just saying this is going to facilitate abductions. But,
Even today, with the law as it is, we've seen many people who have been arrested for hate speech
yeah.
from social media. You didn't need to have these controls to arrest. They can still do it.
Yes.
We've had people filing civil suits on defamation based on posts on social media.
Yes.
So it has got nothing to do with the rule of law or enforcement of the law. It is purely an opportunity that they want to clamp down. They want to put restrictions to stop the conversation that are ongoing on social media. So like on your channel, they can start telling you that before you can have these, all users of your channel,
Yes.
you'll be able to be licensed and prove their identity. What that does is that it reduces your channel from accessing the millions it can access
Yes.
to now only 20 people. Why? Because your audience, when it is growing, you're able to disseminate more information that the people are able to need to understand. And people, you are providing a platform where they're able to interact and share their experiences and put the government to account. A repressive regime is not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So this is just merely an attempt to clamp down on the expression of the freedom of expression by the people. But as I've told you, this will not see the light of day. Even if they pass it in parliament, this 13th parliament,
Yeah.
this one that was banned by the young people, that one has been cancelled. It will be challenged in court and it will not pass the test of the constitution. So I'm never worried about anything that this parliament nowadays does. Because all they're doing is just trying to survive by the day and to annoy us every day while at it.
Yeah. Because yes, there's that, and then there was also this. I'd connect this with the bill that Keitani was trying to pass. So you saw the Keitani bill, where it was an act of parliament. Then it says section 27A: an internet service provider shall operate a meter billing system which shall assign to each customer a unique and identifiable meter number, monitor customer usage, convert customer usage into readable details, and create invoices based on consumption, and allow for user verification of invoices. When you see this bill, what do you think about? Because I remember reacting to it and saying that already our phone numbers are identifiable, like and they're unique. Not your phone number and mine are different. See, so if I buy bundles and you buy bundles,
it's a unique identifier.
It's yes.
Yeah.
So why do you think this is?
So it's just part of it. And for me, like the Keitani proposal, the bulk of it, in my view, is just the government wants to snoop. It is more of creating a database that they can use to snoop into and to infringe on the people's right to privacy. So they want to create a second tier of infringing on the right to privacy, so they can be able to monitor what people are saying or what people are doing on their social media platforms. It was nothing to do with the rule of law. And also, when they do this and they register all this information, then from your platform they are able to quickly even trace and track down those who are engaging in the conversations on the respective platforms. So it has got nothing to do with advancing the cause of justice. It's about undermining our rights and freedoms in the Constitution. I don't think that one also will pass. So, but these characters keep coming. They are very funny. The other day it was a robber pushing, advocating for the same thing.
Gagging,
And now she's
a victim. She's crying. Even this one, Keitani. You will see very soon. Even her, she'll be crying.
The revolution. What Orengo said.
Revolutions eat their own children. Governments eat their own children. So governments will eat them. Even this Keitani, this government will eat her. And it will be very soon, not long.
And when you look at now ODM, what do you feel ODM's role is in this? Because I've been saying, like, every time I react to this such stuff, I always say ODM is to blame for even making the government think that this is possible. Like if they are not in government, no one would even try to come up with such laws because they know they would not go anywhere. We'd not even need the courts. This would just die on the parliament floor.
What saddens me is the posturing by some members of ODM who previously had held in with great respect.
Yeah.
When we see them now turning to become the latter day Kariuki Chotaras, they've become parrots, even worse than Kenya Kwanza. They are more choir singers than the choir that they've joined. And they've put aside, they've shed off their previously acclaimed ideologies. And to them, they see no evil here, no evil. They're in government and they enjoy. So it makes you even wonder, why were they in this in the first place? Was it about individual self-aggrandizement, or was it about service to the people? You listen to the likes of Kaluma, Tandi talking, and it leaves a very bad taste in your mouth. That those are people associated with a political party that had positioned itself as a champion for social justice in this country. And the shameful part is that the top leadership of ODM still entertains those characters and not taken even issued sanctions or warnings or even counter statements to repel those kind of utterances coming from their leadership. And for them, what I always say is that for ODM, they have their day to the destiny as well. Because these Kenyans are keeping records, they're keeping receipts.
They're bookmarking.
The marking scheme that SIFUNA talks about. Even Kenyans are keeping it. So ODM has chosen the path of sleeping with the oppressor. So when you go to bed with the devil, you must be ready to face the consequences. And everybody must be ready to live with these consequences. And when those consequences will be served on ODM, too bad for them. It's not in my state to advise a rival political party, because me, I belong to Safina. But if there was one party that I had sympathies for,
Yes.
I can look at with softer eyes would have been ODM. But in light of, since they joined the broad-based, the utterances emerging from ODM senior membership, it makes me wish to even recall my previous soft spot for them. Because it shocks me and it makes me ask the question, was it worth it? Was that fight worth it from in the beginning? We could have as well become appeasers from the Moi days.
Yes.
Yeah. And say it does as long as we are in government, everything is okay. But it was meant to be a cause about social justice.
Yes.
About creating a society that works for everyone, not a select few. But today, ODM sees no evil. Don't be surprised, even these repressive bills that are being proposed in Parliament, you'll find them being supported or seconded by members from ODM. And the ODM party will keep quiet. It is their right. I don't fault them for showing their true colors, or at least some in their membership.
Yes.
It is their right. But the only thing I can do is to remind them that the Kenyan people are keeping receipts. And everybody must be ready to live with its consequences. When the consequences will be served on everybody, they should not cry wolf.
Yes.
They should accept it when it is served.
Okay, because and in this, when you look at the two members who some of us feel are still with the people, there is Orengo and there is Sifuna. And then these are the two most vilified members of ODM. So when you see that...
at least Sifuna and Orengo gives me hope that at least there are still a few good men who are left standing. Those to whom, when you are in public office, it's not about your own personal interests. It's about the common good of the people. And I only encourage them not to relent. I'm sure the ODM retrogressive forces, the new colonizers, are going to put a lot of pressure on them. But their solace should be that the position they've taken is to the best interest of the people, not for their own personal interest. And the people will not forget. When the time comes when people will believe in their consequences, even them, they will receive their positive consequences from the people. But the others, the Mulumutisias, the modern day Kariuki Chotaras, they must also accept their consequences when that time comes.
Okay. And then we have something like this was a headline on Monday: Treasury to sell Safaricom stake in 149 billion plan. So we know that the Kenyan government owns a stake in Safaricom. So are regimes allowed to do this where you sell a stake? Because I feel like the government makes more with this stake than it's going to make through selling it. So
Of course, the government is broke. A broke government will sell everything, including bankrupting its own citizens. If out of every, you saw this statement of actual receipts
yes.
that was issued by the central bank, by the National Treasury, as at 30th April 2025.
Yeah.
The revenue received, tax revenue received was 1.8 trillion.
Yes.
As at 30th of April. 1.8 trillion.
Yes.
The debt paid at that time was 1.2 trillion.
Yes.
In fact,
6.7%. Yes.
yes, 67.67%
Yes.
of all your money that you've collected, you used to pay debt. In fact, as at end of June 30th this year, the government is meant to pay debt servicing will be 1.9 trillion. Or they default. So they are broke. Their collections, based on our projections, if you look at how much they're collecting per month, they'll be doing well if they even collect 2.2 trillion. And they're supposed to pay debt of 1.9 trillion. Next financial year, their debt payments will be 2.2 trillion. If you don't increase charges and levies and taxes in the finance bill, then it means all the money they're going to collect next year, all of it, you'll spend it in debt finance. So once a government is broke, they start pursuing these desperate measures,
Yeah.
including selling at a song what will be strategic assets that are meant for future generations. Ideally, some of these investments that government holds, I don't think they should be. They are not held for consumption by the present. Even the people who acquired the government stake in Safaricom, when they did it, they had an opportunity to sell it that time, but they preserved it because they knew in the long term, this strategic stake is going to help us, help our future generations, our kids. But now, you have a broke government, a drunkard government, that has decided they are going to sell all the crown jewels at a song. To do what? To drink again.
Yes.
That's what is happening here. So it's unfortunate. I don't know if there'll be some public spirited citizens to challenge this, or even parliament to question those proposals. But with William Ruto's administration, you are going to see maajabu. This is going to be the order of the day. If it's not Safaricom, it will be going to be Kenya Pipeline. Not Kenya Pipeline, it's going to be Bomas of Kenya. If not Bomas of Kenya, it's going to be KCC. Not KCC, it's going to be universities.
Now the seal is moving from the AG to
The
Yes.
public. Yeah, when they move the seal from the AG's office to an office, this office of HOPS,
Yes.
that is a legal office. There is no legal structure that establishes it. It's not in the constitution. It is not in any statute. There is no act of parliament that establishes it.
That's cost case office.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a legal office.
Oh,
There's an office that is established by an executive order just for the president to organize his own internal administration. Yeah, it has no statutory basis. There's no legal basis for it. It's an illegal office. Now, you are giving a legal constitutional instrument. You are removing it from the office of Attorney General,
Yes.
who, per the Constitution, is the chief legal advisor of the government. So you are taking away his instrument and giving it to an illegal office holder, an unstatutory office holder. It's impossible. It's like saying you are removing this mic from the host
Yes.
from Africa,
Yes.
and now you are going to give it to the temporary staff who was bringing us papers here.
Yes.
That now is the one who decides what happens on the mic. How? That person that was invited just to help, assist, to arrange the room or to get us papers for this show.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So, what they are trying to do, and I believe, why will somebody decide to ignore a constitutional and a statutory office holder, take away his responsibilities and his instruments, and give it to a non-statutory office holder? It can only mean one thing, that with that unstatutory office holder, you want to do some illegalities,
Yes.
which you don't want the ultimate defender of public interest in law to be aware of. So they want to steal.
And I believe there should have been an inquiry of if there was any, wrong. Don't just say we returned the seal.
What was done with the seal?
What
when it
what
away?
was done with the seal the time it was out of,
And
of
why
its
did you take
mandated
it away?
office?
Yeah,
Yes.
and why did they take it away?
Yes.
Because even if we were to go
Some
back
people
to the
some people are
Safaricom
supposed
issue,
to lose their jobs.
if you were to go back to the Safaricom issue,
Yeah.
where the stake being sold is 149 billion, from what we've heard someone like GACHAGUA say that RUTO is worth trillions, what is to stop us from believing that RUTO is the one buying the stake from Safaricom?
Of course.
Basically moving it from government to himself.
Of
Because
course,
Safaricom is
that
very
cannot
profitable.
be far-fetched. Part of what these people do once they steal from the people of Kenya is they try to find ways in which they can legitimize the money they've stolen.
Yes.
And it is through this kind of arrangements that they start cleansing their money. So they'll come through a foreign entity that is holding that money on his behalf to acquire this. But it's the same local Kenyans who are doing it. The same happened with KPLC. How did some people acquire majority stakes in KPLC? You go to now Safaricom, you see the same thing.
Yes.
They start acquiring a stake and an interest through opaque means. But it is them. And the money that is used to acquire those stakes is the publicly stolen money.
Yes.
They are the foreign investors who are trying to acquire these things for us. So to them, individual interest is greater than national interest.
And the Jayesh Saini versus Nelson Amenya thing, how do you look at
The
it?
case is still going on. We are supposed to be in court for the main hearing of the suit.
Yes.
And we do hope that Jayesh Saini will come to court to be cross-examined. Jayesh Saini's track record in this country
Yes.
is a matter of public notoriety. In fact, there's a time when Jayesh Saini's company, clinics, they sent somebody to parliament
Yes.
dressed in a Kalasinga headgear with a Muindi name, and is an African. When they were summoned to parliament, they sent somebody who pretended to be
Yeah.
the holder of that name. That was an African. So he appeared there with a turban round his head and pretending that he's now a Muindi, a black Muindi. He's some lawyer here from Western. He's now pretending to be the Kalasinga.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are even arrested. But so we'll have an opportunity to look into his. We want to know his track record and the colossal manner in which they control the public health sector. They are a health insurer. You're a health insurer,
Yes.
insuring people for health. You're a health service provider. You are a facility owner. You are now the one, again, you insure the police and you own the facility that they're supposed to go to.
Yes.
Is there no conflict? At some point, don't we require accountability? And we want to know the kind of stake that they hold in the public healthcare system. And why? Why them? What is so peculiar about them? And how comes only their facilities thrive on public contracts?
Yes.
It's not like their facilities are Aga Khan, kind of, that have thrived on providing healthcare without over-reliance on government
Yeah.
facilities. So when you are questioned, that is not defamation. That is accountability. You brought yourself into the public space. If you didn't want public scrutiny, you should have kept off public projects and do private projects. No one will question you. But if you are benefiting from public money, you don't want accountability or transparency. Too bad.
And how different is this case from the one in France? The one
No,
that
it's
he
the same
tried-
case. The same thing that he filed in France.
So he lost in France.
He lost in France. Then now he also filed a case here in Kenya. And in France, the French court said no. This case is about the tweets that they complained about were about public accountability
Yes.
and transparency. And you cannot stop the Kenyan people from demanding for accountability when you are involved in their public affairs. So they dismissed the case and Amenya was awarded some euros to be paid. Jayesh is yet to pay those euros. He should pay Amenya his money.
Yeah. But what do you think he has that level of confidence in Kenya, like winning this in Kenya?
No. What he's trying to do, for me, because Amenya, what Amenya did with the JKI issue, Amenya exposed those people badly. I think they were somewhere part of the teams that were arranging the Adani engagements in Kenya. So Amenya, being a whistleblower, he was able to expose what was happening in JKI to many Kenyans, and that led to public outcry until even the US government got involved, and the Adani deal was deals in Kenya were cancelled. So I believe these are what we call slap suits. They are meant to stop whistleblowers. They are just meant to put pressure on, not just Amenya. For this case, it's not just targeting Amenya. It's targeting everybody else, demanding accountability. So they file a case with the sole purpose to scare any potential whistleblower or publicly spirited individual who would wish for to demand for accountability to keep quiet. But Amenya is strong. Amenya doesn't seem to waver. He's still demanding for accountability, and is raising the issues that Kenyans are all expected to raise on those who exercise authority in their public affairs.
Yes. So we also had a conversation with someone who runs a data center, and we were talking about SHA, and they were saying that according to them, on the higher side, SHA should have cost 13 billion to run for 10 years. SHA cost 104 billion. So there's this 91 billion that experts are saying should not have been used or should not be used in the future, because they're saying that they've put the money to be whatever in those 10 years. So if the government ends up signing this deal and a new government comes into place, are we still supposed to pay the 104 billion, or what happens?
You know, when Safina gets into power, we are not going to waste time with thieves. There's nobody who is stealing from the people of Kenya who is going to tell us that I signed a contract. You will all be in jail. Let's argue that contract when you're in jail. Because how are you procured in the first place? And what was the justification? These are rip-off. We had an NHIF system that was working here.
Yes.
It didn't cost us 104 billion. So which is this system that you're running that is costing 104 billion? That even whatever military systems are running here are not worth that much. Do you know 4 billion, you're not even just, that's not a system. Those are referral hospitals. Over 10 referral hospitals across the entire country.
Yes.
Yeah? So which is this system that you're costing the Kenyan people this much? This is theft. So as we will not have time to negotiate with people who are criminals,
you'll be throwing
we go to jail. Let's discuss the legality of your contract when you're in jail. Because we start from the premise that this was just open theft. And you find some people's families that appear. I saw David Ndi's relatives who are associated, linked to be members of that company, one of the companies that was in that engagement. The media showed it. So you ask yourself, you are the economic advisor. Now your family members are now linked to a company that is engaging in a rip-off to the public. What is the value for money? When we had a previous system that was working, even if it's a matter of improvement, I'm sure we have experts here in Kenya.
Yes.
And we have experts even in other parts of the country, if you wanted, other countries, if you wanted. They can set up for you a system that cannot cost you that much. This is purely a rip-off. There is no justification. And it's not something that we're going to talk about legality. Here we talk about an ongoing theft. When a new administration comes in, your first duty is to stop the ongoing theft. Take the criminals to jail. Let them file their civil cases as their criminal case is going on. You don't waste time. You don't negotiate with terrorists. That should be our attitude as a country. Anybody who is undermining our economy is a terrorist. This is economic terrorism. Because the consequences of paying 104 billion for a system means critical care will not be provided to so many people who need it. And they're going to die. That's not an act. That is not an act of terrorism. It's economic terrorism. You are committing crimes against humanity, against the people of Kenya. How many and thousands are going to die for lack of access to quality healthcare services?
Or delay of services.
Or delayed services are going to lead to death.
Yes.
So, to me, I'm very clear in my mind. People should be in jail. And you treat them as criminals.
Like what I did.
They should be. Took long. They should all be in jail.
And this thing that has started of building hotels in forests, is there a way that can be stopped? Or if this hotel has already been built, because now we are going to affect the ecosystem.
You know what we must be ready for is a radical approach to our governance. Once we get, that's why I asked the question, Ruto is gone, by the way. Ruto is gone.
Yeah.
And even those in the opposition like myself, what next after Ruto?
Yes.
We must adopt a very radical approach to our governance. And some of those hotels, you don't even say that somebody has put up a magnificent hotel, confiscate it. No, don't confiscate it. Bring it down. Demolish it. So that it becomes a lesson, not just to the future, but even to ourselves. That if we do something that is wrong, the Kenyan people will take drastic measures against you.
Yes.
Okay? So they may put it in today, but Ruto is gone next year. And I belong to the radical group in the opposition that believes
Yes.
some of these illegalities don't need to be negotiated. You must take a radical approach in dealing with them. And one such radical approach, for example, those who are building in our national forests, national parks,
Or even mining.
even those who are illegally mining.
Yes.
Yeah. You just confuse those who are building, you bring down those hotels. Let our forest be our forests. If you want to put up something in our forest, you go with your tent and you put it up there and you go back in the evening. You go home with it in the evening or to the next day. But you don't want to see this systemic encroachment into our forests. Before you know it, those national parks and forests will not be there. That is how Karura forest almost disappeared. If it were not for Wangari Maathai putting up a spirited fight. Those who've been mining illegally across the country. These are people stealing our diamonds and our gold.
Yes.
And other precious
Gemstones,
metals.
yes.
We must question, what is this about? There's a company, for example, in Western Kenya. It's very large. It has the sole company, the sole prospecting license in the Western Belt called Shanta. Now this company goes to a village in Vihiga called Munungu and in Siaya called Ramula. And they're telling them, we want to pay you 550,000 per acre to mine this entire village. 28 villages affected. 550,000 per acre. So you go, you leave. They're buying your land by force.
Oh, they had to buy.
How? No. Somebody is coming to a land that people have lived since time immemorial
To displace you.
to displace you. And he's telling you, I'll pay you 550,000 per acre. Then you leave. The people are saying, no, I don't want money. Who told you I'm selling my land? But you know there's gold. I said, no, we are not going to accept it. If the people have said they don't want any mining to take place, that is their land. Let them stay with it. And why should you, gives a foreigner the right to come to mine and to displace Africans? How much is he going to earn out of that land? For him to say, I'll pay you 550,000 and build for you a school and a hospital, CG. He's earning millions. When are Kenyans ever going to own these minerals? You should be going to the village there and telling the villagers that I'm sorry, you are the owner of these minerals. Can I please assist you to extract it?
Yes.
Yeah. And we can do a joint venture. I'll bring the equipment, you are bringing the land. So we are sharing the profits 50-50.
Yes.
But to tell me that you are paying the owner of the minerals, the owner of the land that is being paid 550,000 per acre.
How does Kenyan law work when it comes to minerals? Because I saw like in Tanzania when there was this Masai guy who got Tanzanite and Magufuli went, met him, the guy became an overnight millionaire. But in Kenya, I hear anything past 6 feet belongs to the government. That's why Maiti na Bakigi 6 feet.
What happens is that all natural resources belong to the people of Kenya.
Yes.
So even if they are minerals, they belong to the people of Kenya as a unit. But in terms of the question of the person who bears the primary pressure that comes with its exploitation, it's the person living on that land. So it belongs to a collective will. But because for us to exploit it, we are going to displace somebody. That person must enjoy a superior right than me, for example, who is not affected by the commercial exploitation.
Okay.
That is why I say you should be discussing joint ventures. Yeah, because the person, these foreigners coming to mine the minerals, they'll take it. All they do is to pay government royalties. They're keeping some of the profits for themselves. They're not doing it. They're not Father Christmas. They're not missionaries.
Yes.
So what I'm saying, whatever they're remaining with themselves, say we are doing a joint venture, okay? We will jointly pay the royalties of our product to government, me and you. We pay royalties. But whatever remains, 50, 50, or even 60, 40, with the owner of the land owning the bulk of it.
Yeah.
Why? Just because somebody has technology, he thinks now he should have a superior right of a mineral that rests on our ancestral lands. No. That is how Africa was colonized. People coming here to exploit, to extract, and to dominate. We must change the conversation. Any exploitation of a natural resource must place a primary concern on the local community. They must have some proprietary rights and interests in any natural resource that exists in the Republic. And that must be converted to a title.
Yes.
So anybody coming to exploit, you must pay that local community, or given you co-share, a co-sharing agreement that they also own the resource that is being exploited.
Okay. So, but what I was trying to understand is because I see like with American law, if this is my law, this is my land, and there's oil found in my land, I become an overnight billionaire. But in Kenya, if oil is found in my land, it belongs to the government, yes?
Yes, what happens is, in Kenya we've said, not the government, it belongs to the Kenyan people, all
Yeah.
of us.
Yes.
We've said we all own it. But the question now comes into the question of ownership of the land, where the resource is. The resource belongs to the government, to the people of Kenya as a unit, but the person who owns the land is the individual. So what we should be focusing now is on how do we make sure that when that resource is being exploited, the person who bears the greatest harm, the owner of the land, gets a benefit.
Yes.
That is what should be our conversation. As it is now, the owner of the land is disadvantaged unless he's able to commercially apply and get the authorization to do the explorations of the natural resource.
Okay. And as we finish up, a lot of people I've seen a lot of people say that Jimmy represents the same politics we're trying to run away from. So what
No,
did you say to
Jimmy
that?
does not represent the same politics that we run away from. Jimmy has never held any public office in this country.
Okay. I think it's the whole SGR saga
No,
where
you know, this SGR thing, I see people keep throwing Jimmy's name into SGR. The record is very clear. Jimmy was never part of SGR.
yeah.
In fact, he has said it publicly. The SGR which he conceptualized was purely a private venture, private sector-driven project, not a single government coin. The SGR that you have here, that Uhuru built, was a publicly funded SGR. Jimmy rejected that model that you're not going to use public money to build the SGR.
Yes.
He was putting together a consortium of private sector to build the SGR with their own money, not government money.
Yes.
So he's no longer, he was never in the SGR as you know it. He's not. His idea ended up of being a piece of paper. So where was he in Uhuru's administration? He never did even a single contract with that administration. But legacy politicians, of course, who are scared of Jimmy's civic education on public debt,
Yes.
will want to drag him into the muck, try to associate him with many things. The contrast Jimmy did, the business he did with government, was back in the day during the Kibaki times.
Okay.
And they're known. He has publicly said he was part of the group that put up Thika Road. It's there.
Yeah.
The value for money for Thika Road is there for everybody to see.
Yes.
You can quantify the project and its impact on the economy, even post-construction, how it has stimulated the economy of that entire corridor. You've seen the mushrooming Miremas, Ruirus, Ruais, Ruiru, Ruaraka.
Kagundo.
All those towns are emerging just as offshore because of the stimulus effect.
Kamakis, yes.
Kamakis
Yeah,
of that Thika Road.
Kamakis, yes.
Jimmy is about value add. Even the projects he was doing with government, when he did, back in the day, those days of Kibaki, it was about when we do this, how will it stimulate an economy? How will it spur growth post the project? That we are going to see enhanced economic activities. And he said SGR, as conceptualized by Uhuru, was a rip-off. 350 billion, now ended up being 670 billion to become a supermarket for Chinese goods. Yeah, that's all it does. We've just put a trolley for Chinese goods to come from Mombasa into Nairobi.
Yes.
SGR will have only made sense if it was flying all the way to Malaba and connected into Uganda and into the DRC. So that as you transport goods down, you also have raw materials coming back. But if you're just doing it from Mombasa to Naivasha at 670 billion, and you are spending 30 million every day to run that train, and it only makes 5 million, what are you doing?
We had Irongo Nyakera here, and I think he said the ultimate plan was to take it at least till Kisumu, because he tried to talk about how Kisumu was supposed to be like a port, and then there was Naivasha, and then there was supposed to be Mombasa. But somehow, the Kisumu part never materialized. So they really tried to push Uhuru to do the Kisumu part. I think there's a way he explained why up to Malaba didn't make financial sense. That was going to benefit, was it Uganda more or something? So he was saying like till Kisumu, those 3 ports would have been. Let me
say this. I have no problem with it getting to Kisumu or Malaba, but it must get beyond.
Yes, past Naivasha. Yes.
Past Naivasha. You can't take the SGR to Dukamoja. What are you taking to Dukamoja? Here in Naivasha.
You're told there's only one Duke.
It's only one shop. It's why I call Dukamoja. It's true. I've been there. I've seen it. One Dukamoja. That's the name of that
visit there.
Yeah.
Then, for me, my main problem is the cost. 670 billion Kenya shillings.
Yes.
From Mombasa to Dukamoja. That is why they are unable to find any financing to Kisumu. Because 70% of the volume of goods that land in the port of Mombasa, their destination is Nairobi. 30% is what extends into the hinterland.
Yes.
Now, if this leg of the train, you spend 670 billion, is not making any profit to carry 70% of the volume of goods, who is going to put their money to expand it to Kisumu? That is why it's not moving. This 670 billion, this one was stolen. This was the problem.
Yes.
Jimmy's initial feasibility study had shown to build it all the way to Kisumu and Malaba was 55 billion. Private sector money, not government money. So Jimmy is making people uncomfortable.
So it means 615 billion was stolen.
Yes.
So that's basically like SHA, where the numbers are so inflated. And Kenyans, we've come to dharau pesa mpaka tuone how...
Even billions are just...
We are numb to figures.
Yeah.
We are numb. We don't even get shocked.
Okay.
But it's your future that is stolen.
Yeah.
Tax in advance.
It is. But asante sana wakili. Tutaona if there'll be more questions, but at least with the impeachment thing. So now, as we finish up, Gachagua should just forget about the presidency, or do you feel like now he'll use these avenues of open appeal to
He has to fight
run?
in court. He has to fight in court. His only chance rests in the courts. If he doesn't fight in courts, then he cannot run.
And the new ruling, what did it mean? Does it mean that we have 2 deputy presidents?
No.
Or?
What happens is, I saw the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice rectified what informed that earlier decision. She appointed the same bench that made the decision to set aside the rulings of Kerugoya. So what that meant is that it was more of an administrative issue that the Chief Justice was trying to cure. So as it is now, is impeachment and the stay proceedings still continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kindiki is legally in office?
Kindiki is an illegitimate deputy president.
Why?
He's legitimate in the sense that at the time when he was being sworn in, he was sworn in on the authority of the lifting of a stay order by a bench which at the time, when it was issuing those orders lifting the stay, was improperly in office.
Okay.
So he must also carry the legitimacy that the bench had, which the Chief Justice is now trying to cure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sawa, yeah, so I think ikikuja tu mambo ya impeachment tumetoka hiyo story. We've always had these arguments on the podcast. Is it 10 years? Is
Yes.
it forever? Is it so kuna hiyo, and then as I keep saying, people need to show up in 2027. I think that's the anti-rigging medicine. It's just high voter turnout or yes, high voter turnout, then plus volunteer kwa polling stations, because who's allowed in a polling station? Who's allowed? Is it just the agents?
The election officials,
Yes.
the security assigned to the polling station, the agents of the political parties,
Yes.
observers, media,
Yes.
and the voter also is allowed to enter the polling station.
With
But once
media-
you vote,
With media, do you think it can reach a level where social media is allowed?
as long as you're an accredited media,
With Kenya,
the Kenya, it's called the Kenya Media Council.
Yes.
That issues the accreditation. As long as you have an accreditation from the Kenya Media Council, you should be able to access any polling station.
okay.
So even if you're a social media, online media, as long as you've got your accreditation, you are allowed to observe.
Okay. So by access any is, I don't need to have told them that I'm coming, as long as I can.
You will get a letter
Yes.
that confirms that you are an accredited media. And
For
that's a
IBC?
badge actually.
From the IBC.
And it's a
actually
specific
badge.
polling station?
No. Any. Once you're accredited, you can access any, because
Okay.
the media is not supposed to be stationed only in one polling station.
Yes.
You are supposed to be reporting the entire election. So anywhere you go, you should be able to access a polling station in any
Okay.
part of the
Okay.
country, as
Okay.
long as you're accredited.
We are arming up.
Yeah.
So Media Council this time has to give accreditation to many of.
Yeah, because that's the only way to make it like the results be transmitted super fast.
Yeah.
Yes. So imekuwa ni episode 461.
461.
Yes, imekuwa ni episode 461. Tukimalizia tukisema like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend. Tukimalizia tukisema Iko Nini.
Iko Nini.
Iko Nini.